G'day, beautiful people. Hello and welcome to your Monday. It's wonderful to have you here, or your Tuesday, or your Sunday, wherever you are. Bar week, Grana week, mini bong. It's lovely to see you all in the chat, just being the fucking legends that you are. Joining me today is just so when I was talking to Scrivo and we were putting together the stuff for the show today to go out on all the social media pipes. I just like the way I explained the show today. I was like, we're talking about Iron Jaws and Fire Slayers with a bloke named Alex, and then I had another like section explaining why, like he is like what his credentials as a Fire Slayers and an Iron Jaws player were, but I forgot to send it. So Scrivo, being the legit straight up bloke that he is, just put all this stuff out there with a bloke named Alex, and I fucking love it. So from now on, welcome to the show, Alex. Your only credentials being your name. Wonderful to have you here.
Oh, nice to be on the show, Dan. I've got to say, unfortunately, my name is only Alex and not Ben, so I
Yeah.
can't claim to have an amazing win rate. But on the other hand, I've been to a few tournaments and I can definitely keep up, so I feel like
Yeah.
I'm qualified to chat about a few things.
Yeah, look, let's say statistically, Bens are better at Age of Sigmar. Statistically, if your name is Ben, you are better at Age of Sigmar. But we'll get all to that in a second. Just lovely to see you all in the chat. Blitzed, the sneaky Seraphon lover, lovely to have you here. Elf Bro, Hayden, wonderful to see you. Grixty, mate, we're here on your lunch break. Good to be here. Gorelord, can I just say, we were just talking off air just before how much I love that every time you come into the chat, you come in with like just pure, unadulterated rage excitement. It gives me life. Yeah, Elf Bro, excited to see Shooty Dwarves coming back. I do feel like they're there. Jimmy 1080, 100 better than Jimmy 980. Good to see you as well. Alex chatting to me while also being in the chat, which is just, that's some next level multitasking. But yeah, it's wonderful to have you all here. If you are watching, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, if you want to jump in the chat and be a part of it, throw some questions our way, Twitch is the place to be. If you are listening to us back or watching back, wonderful to have you joining like our lovely little eargasm that we're having right now. As always, if you are a subscriber, if in any way you support the Honest Wargamer, even if it's just by following our shit on social media, wonderful. Thank you so much for being a part, because realistically, this all only happens for you, by you. It's good to have you here. Dad Hammer, wonderful to see you. Now, Alex, other than your credentials of just being a bloke named Alex, tell the world, what's your Iron Jaws credentials?
My Iron Jaws credentials would be I've taken them to 2 tournaments since I've started playing Age of Sigmar, and both times I've managed to nail 4-1. Always losing to the guy who's taken the first place title.
Right, that's it.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's look. It is unfortunate because you look at it and you're like, if I'd have won that game, I would have taken it all. However, you got to appreciate, like, Iron Jaws were the whipping boys. Like, they have been the whipping boys and potentially still are. So to be going 4-1 with them, that's some damn fine effort. And the last list, the list at the last tournament that you went 4-1 with, was just fucking specky. We will be looking at that later. We're not going to be talking about that right now because we'll be talking about it all later. But like every show, this is the bit that is for you, the people who tune in first and are here from the start. We do the first thing that we always do on every show, which is send nudes. We are going to send some NUDES, some nice unique drawings everyone scribbled. So a bit of viewer art that we will be, that Alex, as my guest, you will be blind reviewing and pass it and basically scoring it out of whatever you would like to score it out of, realistically. Let me get my old scoring pen from over here. There we go, got that one there. And so we'll be, the first one that we have here, quite timely, I think. Actually, no, we'll go a different one first. So it looks. I think people have gotten the idea that these all seem to be done in, I'm guessing, either Microsoft Paint or its Apple equivalent. I know at least one of these was done on a phone, so that's pretty good. I think it was done on like a Scrabble app on a phone, which is kind of cool. Yeah, Tomb King Tristan, really need to send some nudes. Gore Lord, show them nudes. That's it. Just Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, however they get across. But our first nude for the day. It has a title. Well, it's like, look, Alex, you've got a bit of a vignette here. Almost is what I'm looking at. It has a title and it says Techless gives his children, in air quotes, Techless gives his children a bath. And it appears to be like a sun. I'm guessing that's meant to be like the realm of light there. And then there's some rays with little people figures falling down into what I'm guessing is the ocean. And the sun thing has a little speech bubble that says piss off. I'll just hold that one up there so that everyone can have a cheeky little look and see that. Now, look, this has got a bit of a movement. It's got a bit of emotion to it. The people are all pretty consistent. Alex, what will we give this?
I think just from the description that it's Teclis giving his children a bath, which to me means drowning some elves.
Well, it does seem like it.
I'm
Yes.
I'm gonna give this 11 out of 12 wars.
11 out of 12 wars. Okay, good. All right. Yep. 11 out of 12 wars. All right. You know what? I have to say I quite like it. There's a lot of Techless's kids being dumped in the bath. Yeah, I dig it. 11 out of 12 wars. Good job. That's lovely to see. I'm assuming that that is the Deepkin basically just being abandoned and thrown into the ocean, which is always, that's always good. Always good to see. And you know what? That's currently, I believe, our highest score of all of the nudes that have been sent to the show. So we're doing good. There've been a couple that, discrete peens and things like that. So our scores are going left, right, and centre. They're quite interesting. But wow, there we go. All right, so our second piece, I've just cleared that up so that we can actually see what we're looking at to make it a little bit easier for everybody. But our second piece of art is this one's not really art, but it's a boat license for the Soul Seeker. From the Shaiish Department of Bringy Dingies, which is, you know what, credit to it. Good to see it. It has here the name that will show on Soul Seeker. It's valid from 2019 till Nerf. It's a boat license. It's even got his little picture there, and yeah, it's from the Shaiish Department of Bringy Dingies. Alex, what do we got for this one? What do we got for someone? It's topical. I'd say it's topical, which is nice.
Well, the unfortunate part is you said it's until Nerf, which has happened this morning for us over in Canada.
Yep.
So I'm going to give it a gentle 5 out of 12 wars. Most of them failed. There weren't 6 units in range.
Yep, okay.
It went horribly.
5 out of 12 wars there. Excellent. Only 5 out of 12. And you are right, however, so for those who aren't in the know, the Bringy Dingy got nerfed with... nerfed, I'm going to use that term very loosely. Basically, all they specified is that the Bringy Dingy, you can't move after you use it. Which, let's be honest, it was something that gave you a 9-inch setup, and people still expected that they could use it, move again afterwards just because it didn't. Is there anything else in the bloody game at the moment where you can move after that teleport setup? It just doesn't freaking happen. So for what it's worth, if you were relying on that and that broke your heart, you're a muppet. You should have seen it coming. This is like when people bought a fuck ton of KO ether cannons and thought they weren't going to get nerfed. It was just going to happen. So no, Tomb King Tristan, I don't think it's expired. I think it's wonderful. I think the expiration date on that is very far away. It's like a fine bottle of wine. He's just going to keep getting better with age. But we do have one more nude for you, Alex. Just sorry, I need a quick sippy here myself. Gorelord liking... Gorelord, I'm assuming that you were a big fan of Teclis, just dunking all of his kids in the ocean. Tomb King Tristan, yeah, believing it's gone. It's now the gondola. Beautiful. I love it. All right. The last one we have, and you know what? The last one is actually, I got this last week, but and I held off doing them last week. And you know what? After the FAQs this morning, this is actually perfect. All it is what looks to be a really shitty looking wine glass, I'm guessing, or water glass or something, full of a blue, clear looking liquid. And then it just says GHB 2019 Extra Salty Tears. Yeah, so I guess how do we feel about that, Alex? It's a simple one. It's kind of like a what was his name? That artist dude who did all the weird shit. But it was just really simple. I don't know. Fucking took photos of Campbell's soup or some crap. Chad will help me out on that one. But yeah, it's simple. It's elegant. What do we think?
I've got to ask the question first. If it's the extra salty tears, is it an overflowing glass?
It's no. The cup is only about. I'd say it's half full. It's 2/3 full. Warhol, sorry, Reticenti, Andy Warhol, whatever the fuck his name, Warhol. But yeah, what do we think?
I'll give it a 9 out of 12 was.
9 out of
It's
12
mostly
was.
on point. It
Yep.
depends on what army you.
That's a very good point. Some people were crying harder than others. 9 out of 12 was. So our clear winner for today was Techless, basically drowning all of his children in the bath, which is, that's good. That's where we're at. We're finding we wanted topical, we wanted involved, and that's where we got. So as always, if you do have any nudes, feel free to send them along. We will look at them, we will judge them, and they will be scored completely randomly by whoever I do have on the show at the time. Now, just ducking back into the chat, T Pearson 815 subscribed. Lovely to have you. Welcome to the team. We're starting our little hobby journey together. We've got ourselves a little baby in the oven, and I'll birth it in roughly 9 months if you're still hanging around. Skill shots. The Iron Jaws can use the Iron Fist movement when they teleport. That's true, but that's not so much in part of the teleport. That's a part of their Iron Fist shit, as opposed to like movement phase stuff. I think that was the one where people thought that they could use the boat and then still have a movement phase, and that just doesn't happen anywhere. Otherwise, what was the point of them keeping you 9 inches away? But yeah, the Tomb King Tristan has tears of joy because they didn't erase the entire army, and that is fair. Gorelord not stoked. I'm guessing that's because you copped some nerfs that weren't pleasant, and if so, I'm very sorry. Grooby has been subscribed for 12 months. And you were missing last month because of an absence. Well, I hope that your absence is done and we're here for the rest of the time. But we popped out one hobby baby. We're a third of the way through making our second hobby baby. And it's a beautiful place for us to be. But that was send nudes for this week. Thank you very much, everybody who did send in nudes. It was wonderful to receive them. There are a couple more that'll still be around next week, and please send in any that you like. We will continue to review. But we've got other shit to talk about, obviously, and that is all of the stuff that we basically needed to look at with Fire Slayers, Iron Jaws, all that jazz, and all the shit that we're going to be looking in between. So, what do you want to talk about first, Alex? You're my guest. Do you feel like chatting Iron Jaws or Fire Slayers first?
We can chat Iron Jaws. It'll give some perspective.
Okay. We'll take a little walk down Iron Jaws Lane, which is it's a beautiful place to be. They just got some nice stuff from the GHB 2019, wouldn't you say?
I'd say GHB 19 should just be retitled Battletome Iron Jaws.
Yeah, they did very nicely, didn't they? It was really Battletome Iron Jaws and Seraphon. Because all of the big, expanded, enhanced allegiance abilities and artifacts and shit that was meant to be for all the others, we didn't really see. However, that doesn't mean that it's not lovely to see a bit of love going to the green skins and the scalies. So yeah, it's good. It's good. It's nice. How did you feel about the changes to the Iron Jaws? You were pretty stoked, I take it?
At first, I was looking at it thinking, oh, it looks very similar to last year. And then sort of as the spoilers came more and more apparent, it's, oh no, this is something special.
Yeah.
In particular, Mighty Destroyers used to be, you could pile in. It didn't say pile in and attack.
Yeah.
And in my game so far, that has been huge.
Yeah, right.
on top of that, we got our own spell lore, which is just great.
It's
The
disappointing that
teleport.
Iron Jaws didn't have their own spell lore, given that they had like they are the ones with Foot of Gork, which is kind of the most iconic, or from all the way back in the Warhammer world. Like that is the most iconic spell, other than like Purple Sun. So yeah, that's it. I think it's kind of cool. But yeah, what did you think about? Okay, let's go through it. Let's chat spell laws. Talk to me. What do we think about the spell law?
The big one, which I already started on, was the teleport. It's for Iron Jaws. It's even bigger than it is for the other destruction factions when they eventually apparently end up with access. Because you get to drop 9 inches away. Iron Jaws are inherently +1 to charge, so that's only an
Yep.
8-inch charge. If you've dropped Ard Boys, then that's going to be +2 to that as well, so that's a
So
6-inch
they're only looking
charge.
for a six. Yep.
Uh, and as somebody's already pointed out in the chat, we've got an Iron Fist move, which we can choose the order it goes off in. So why not teleport first?
Teleport, Iron Jaws move, so you're getting that D6, and yeah, pretty rough. And also it's kind of like I like that it's a spell that you can kind of backboard your caster to hopefully get it off. You know, like rather than putting them where they can be dispelled. I think it's good. So yeah, no, I'm digging it. I actually, when I saw that, it was actually a shame, right? Because I got really excited for the Dispossessed, and then when I found out that they pretty much had literally nothing but one small wording change, I was a bit disappointed. However, the stuff that I saw for the Iron Jaws and Seraphon really excited me because I was like, fuck yeah, those are two armies that are now going to come out of the woodwork. There are a lot of people that play Iron Jaws because they're fucking cool, and now you can play them because they play well. They don't just look and feel fucking cool, which I think is really awesome. What else did you reckon for the rest of the spell lore?
There were a few misses, mainly because the practicality of actually using them. But the other one, which sort of shines to me, would be something like the Blazing Eyes,
Yeah.
which is kind of like, I think it's Uramaran Orb, where you get to draw a line.
Yeah.
And it's on 4d6. So in my head, I had this immediate dream of using it with a weird fist and a spell portal
Oh
to just draw a
no.
line across your enemy's entire army.
Yeah.
Uh, it's only one mortal wound, but a weird fist on it's either a 1 to 3 or a 4 to
Yeah.
6.
For range and
Could either
yeah.
yeah, extra mortal wounds on everything. So you're going to draw a line across their entire army and do
Well,
probably
would
4
the
mortal wounds.
would the extra range also increase the range of that line?
Yes,
So you've got
because it's not an endless.
yeah, so half of them is increasing the length of his eyeballs, and the other half is increasing the damage to 2, 3, 4, 6 mortal wounds or whatever. That'd be fucking insane. Just this, it's like, and how do I stop this? And the answer is like, you can't. You need to kill all of the orcs around my weird boy. Which I think it's really awesome. I also will be excited to see a weird fist that isn't just based around getting off Foot of Gork. Because I think Foot of Gork, while it is fucking amazing, it's a great spell, it's fun. When he just shit mixes half of an army, it's great. But then you have other times where you put all that into it and you don't cast it, or you put all that into it, you roll one mortal wound, and then he fucks off and doesn't do any more damage. So it's kind of cool, I think, for them to see a little bit more reliability in Magic. That's what they kind of needed. But yeah, just in the chat, there's a few people chatting about things. All good, Gorlord, he's all good with the changes except the Vortex, which for those who haven't seen it yet, the Vortex received no changes except for its range being halved from 26 inches to 13. Personally, I think it either needed one of two different changes. It either needed to not be able to be affected by buffs or something, because Skaven could cast it really easily and then your opponent had no chance of dispelling it. Or the other thing, I guess, which is the vortex going off twice. Now the shorter range, I don't see it. I don't see people using it turn one to fuck over their opponents without putting a lot of effort into making it happen. But yeah, most Skaven stuff really went unchanged. What did you think about the change to the vortex, Alex?
I actually quite liked the change. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting sort of less ticks or, less AoE, something like that, maybe a points increase. But actually reducing the range for me, I'm quite happy with, because suddenly I'm seeing that my opponent playing Skaven actually has a cost to it. they've got to skitter leap and use it,
Yeah.
or they've
And
just got
then
to be
and
in range.
and if they're going to skitter leap, then they need to be, and they want to get the +1, they need to skitter leap to near a gnaw hole, but that means they're going to be within range of an unbind. They can't sit safely out the back to cast it. Yeah, I think it makes them have to work harder to get it, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, I thought that a lot of the changes we saw, the only thing that I thought was maybe a little disappointing um, was that Flesh Eater Courts I don't think got hit too hard, though they did get that one that only lets them pile in an attack first if they charged, which I think is massive. Because that was fucking terrible, right?
Oh yeah, for me that's huge. That means that I don't have to plan quite as many janky sort of combat tricks to actually be able to fight them as Iron Jaws. I can fight them on decent terms.
Yeah, I think the thing for me that kind of hits there is that they don't have the thing where the biggest complaint people made was that even if you charged them in your turn, they still got to go first. So what was the fucking point of fighting them in combat? Now it's one of those things where it can kind of go both ways. So I'm quite happy to see it. Perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned, but I do still think, looking at the points changes, that they're still a little cheap, given that most of the time when I've played a Flesh Eater Courts player, turn one they put on the board just under 600 to 700 points of models, like turn one. So we haven't even done anything, and they are about almost a third up on points than me. That tickles my biscuit in a bad way. But yeah, I'll take what I can get though. I'll take what I can get, right? Like that's how you got to look at it. Take stuff. Okay, cool. So like, Army Darkling Covens and Wanderers didn't get a spell lore. Yeah, they didn't give a lot to a lot of people, but they did give a little to some, and that's got to keep us happy. Just have Dimensional Cascade in the chat. We're actually chatting about some stuff that's really cool at the moment, so we'll get back to you on doing that. Sorry, I ignored the chat for a minute. We got caught up. Demcast has updated his mats, for those who are wondering, with new ones. Actually, Alex, you have one. We've played on it a couple of times. Your thoughts on the mats, so it doesn't just sound like me like jerking him off and saying that they're amazing?
Oh, it's fantastic. It makes every game quicker and easier. And the crucial thing for when you're trying to play at a competitive level is there's no, oh, are you in range of the objective? Yes, no, let's roll.
Yeah, you can put it on straight away and go, sweet, that's where they're going. You don't have to do it. Like it makes things so much quicker. I'm a big fan, but that's about it. And LLV, if you're thinking about getting one, I 100% would, because they're just fucking they're really good mats. They're an amazing hobby item. They're like scenery dice. They make your life so much easier. But so Iron Jaws, that spell laws, we're liking a couple of them. T. Pearson commenting that it feels like we've had a couple of maybe hobby miscarriages while you're watching via Facebook. That's okay. Facebook, watching via Facebook it's very appreciated, and it's lovely. I love you for it. But the problem is that Facebook is kind of like the dirty hospital of hobby babies, because I can't really monitor it. I don't trust what's going on there, and I never know what's happening. Twitch is like the high class one, and I guess YouTube is, for those who are watching on YouTube, you are like my let's say like voodoo spirit doctors. You know, like I'm not sure you know what you're doing, but I'm also too scared to counteract you, because I don't know what's going on there. Like it could be the other side of the world and everything's going crazy. So you know what? That's we just got 3 different areas of the way it goes, and that's fine. That's fine. So Iron Jaws, let's have a chat. Let's go back in time, Alex. Would you come back in time with me for a moment?
Of course.
Okay, good. Now, the last time I traveled through time, things went a little bit weird. So we won't go that far back. We're just going back to General's Handbook 2018, your Infinity War list that went 4-1 and was playing on the top table last round of the Wet Coast GT. Now, I'm just going to pop that on the screen so that everyone can have a look at that there. Do you want to walk us through the list? So we start out with a Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, and tell me about the majesty of this army.
So the key thing is it's down on points.
How
So
far down
there
on
are
points is it?
we are 200 below. So under
Right.
the old
Yep.
system,
Mm-hmm.
I have a triumph without even asking the opponents.
Yep. You've got a triumph. You've got 4 command points. You have
Yeah.
a
Then
formation, so you've got another command point, so you're at 5, right?
yeah.
And
Then it's my turn for 6.
6 command points, and then then you've got the fucking fungoid cave shaman in there as well. So potentially 7.
Yeah, it's sitting nicely there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I was rating everything out of 12 wars. The average turn one war from this is 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the reason for that, for those who are playing at home and might not know, one of the artifacts in this list is the Ether Quartz Brooch, where every time you spend a command point, you roll a dice, and on a 5-up, you get that command point back. Which means that this list can effectively infinitely, if you roll 5-ups, infinitely generate wars, just until the end of time. It's a bit like Bone Splitters and stuff like that, with their ridiculous shooting phases. So yeah, so you'd end up with an average of 12 wars. What was your top, just out of curiosity?
My highest was just a quick concept test
Mm-hmm.
with one of our local guys he was using the Reflecto Dragon,
Mm.
and I got, I think it was 23.
23.
Yes.
Jesus. Jesus.
Unfortunately, I was hitting a Reflecto Dragon, so I'm going to tell you it didn't die,
And
and my
just
mortal ship
bounce
proceeded to
back.
take 126 mortal wounds.
Yeah, well, look. Unfortunately, that's what they're there for. They like to tank the hits and like to throw them back. But the point of this being that this army generates just a shit ton of extra attacks, and that's through Prophet of the War, right? Because that lets you re-roll your wars.
Yeah, it lets me have 2 attempts at getting the 6, which is just fishing for sixes, kind of like a Gristlegore Dragon.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just keep popping them out and going for him. So then, once you've gotten that, what does this army end up with off the back of 12 wars? What does that? Because for those who don't particularly know Iron Jaws, what does that war give everyone in the army?
Everybody in the army gets plus 12 attacks to every single weapon profile on each model's drop.
Plus 12 attacks to every single profile of every single weapon. And given the speed of this army, it's 9 times out of 10 going to be in combat with you during turn 1. Which is, and I played against this army and it just fucking shit mixed me. It was great. It was incredible. But yeah, it flies across the board and then just unrelentingly beats you. Now, I will say that you will never see this army again because you now just can only buy a single command point at the start of the game for 50 points, not fucking 4 of them. But righteous army, right?
Yeah, and on top of that, if it wasn't enough that you had that many attacks, you've got to remember there's a little cheeky war banner in there to reroll ones to wound as well.
And then the war chant is giving you +1s to hit, so you're probably, I would assume, for the most part, hitting on 2s and 3s, re-rolling 1s to wound. I mean, you've got a spell, but let's be honest, the Cave Shaman's really only there to probably cast Mystic Shield on the Mega Boss and then just fucking generate more command points. But yeah, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. I mean, it's got the damage output to rip through just about anything, even if they've got a decent save. It's got low drops and it's fast enough to hit your opponent turn 1 before they've got their buffs out. It's it's terrifying. When it happened to me, I was just sat there like, I thought I screened well enough, but nothing could screen well enough for this. Yeah, and you went 4-1 with it as well, only dropping the last game top table game 5, which
Yeah, and that
yeah.
I've really got to hand it to Matt, who I played against. If you guys can see on Dimensional Cascade stream, he did like a little masterclass in screening.
Yeah,
He
right.
knew I could reach any part of the table. He had seen what a list like this does before, and he provided me with something that I could kill for free.
Yeah.
And in exchange, he would chance double turning me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's, for me, that's what I love about Age of Sigmar as well. And I hope they never change. I actually hope the priority roll never changes. Because sometimes you can have that matchup or that moment where you're like, you know what, I am down and out. I have no chance of winning this. But if I play aggressive and I get that double turn, I can take this game. And I remember playing Warhammer Fantasy. I remember playing 40k, and there so often there are times where you're like, I'm just out. I'm out and I have no chance. And it's not that that doesn't happen in Age of Sigmar, but the fluidity of the turn means that sometimes you can have a shot. And I think Matt is a very talented player, first and foremost. But the other thing that I would say is that looking at that, it was probably like our lists, like pound for pound, you've got the edge on me. But if I can get that double turn, if I play and position myself right and hit that double turn, I can take the teeth out of you before you basically roll my shit in. So yeah, I credit, like, very good player, but also you had to play your guts out to get there too. It's a the thing is, it's a list with a lot of attacks, but not much redundancy. So you've got to play clever to kind of have that. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. And also terrifying. And were you sad to see this list go, or was it more like you did it, you proved the point, you had some fun, you were ready to move on?
I think for me, I proved the point that I could do well with that few models on the table. And at the same time, I am glad to see it go. I think a couple of guys have mentioned in the chat when they at the West Coast preview and in this chat, I believe, where it's just like spamming. So
Yeah.
just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
It's gold blooming, as we coined the term last year. So this very show coined the term gold blooming, which is in the hobby when you were so busy asking yourself whether you could, you didn't stop to think up whether you should. And that's the true fact there, right? Like you looked at it and you went, I remember us having the conversation pre-Wet Coast. You were like, do I take this list or this list? And I was like, Infinity War comes out the week of the event. You will never have a better tie-in chance to take an Infinity War to the Infinity War. And also, like, this list, it'll probably disappear at some point. So you may as like, if you hadn't taken it, we would have new GHB and it'd be gone before you had a shot.
It's very true, and I'm glad you convinced me to take it. It was a lot of fun. I've got to admit, I feel a bit bad for my first game. There was this great guy there who was playing sort of his first ever tournament, and he's playing Corn, which he's just put together from like a few of the starters. I decided to take the opportunity to try to teach him how to play the game a little better. Whilst trying to pull the punch a bit, but at the same time, I couldn't afford to throw the game.
No,
So.
and I would also say that the friend of the show and all round one of the best gamers, I would arguably say on the planet, Dan Brewer. He is a very talented player, and every time I play against him, I feel like or if I see him going up against someone who's relatively new, I feel like it's not that he's pulling punches, but he's doing exactly what you talked about there. He's trying to teach them more elements of the game. And for my money, when I started playing Age of Sigmar, I came back to it late to the party. It wasn't until well into the first General's Handbook. And I just went to tournaments and I was playing and I just kept getting rolled. But it gets to a point where that's where you learn. And I think the problem is that we often talk so much about, and this show is very guilty of it as well, right? We talk about stats, we talk about who's doing well, percentages, winning, but you got to remember if you're starting out that you are probably going to lose a lot, but that's where you learn. If you just win your games, you don't learn shit. You learn a lot more when you're losing, and so that's where I think that's where it's kind of cool. Apparently there was a similar ETC list brought to an open in October. And yeah, the mini game of how many wars you can get is apparently, just so much fun. So yeah, there we go. Jimmy agreeing. Dan is a very beautiful gentleman. He's gorgeous. He's lovely. And he likes to talk shit as well, which I'm a big fan of. So, look, Iron Jaws, obviously this list was fun. Were you sad that it's not really a thing anymore after the GHB 2019 dropped?
Not really.
Not really?
I'm not gonna lie. I do have a lot more gore grunters than that. So I'm kind of inclined to see if I can't.
Wait, how many gore grunters do you have?
I
There's
think I've got
15 in the list.
21 or 24
Jesus
in
Christ.
total.
Wait, well, they dropped in points, didn't they? Or was it Brutes that dropped in points?
No, they stayed. They stayed the same. Brutes and our boys drop.
Brutes and our boys. Yeah, right. Can you fit 21 gore grunters in a list?
Yeah, quite easily.
Okay, wait, but wait, are we gold blooming again? Is this another thing of we're too busy wondering whether we could that we probably shouldn't?
Yes, we clearly are.
Definitely not a thing. You just line up 21 gore grunters, and your opponent's like, "What did like someone accidentally send you a fuck ton of battle pigs?" And you thought to yourself, "Yep, that's what I need." So yeah, okay. Well, look, lots and lots of gore grunters would be fun. But Gorelord in the chat actually agreeing, saying you got to take your licks, otherwise you've never actually had a chance of winning. I completely agree. It's a bit like, so I got a couple of friends that are comedians, and one of the things that they talk about is when jokes aren't working and you're bombing, they call it being in the shit. But apparently, when you're bombing, when you're in the shit is when you learn so much more. And I would actually agree with Age of Sigmar. The games when I am just getting absolutely fucked, it's like after those games I'm thinking about and going like, yep, this. I can remember lost a game on kill points, and if I'd have been a little bit cleverer, I should have taken a moment, had a breath before turn 5, and gone, we need to count the kill points up now before I make decisions. But I didn't. I was excited. I thought it was going well, and so like I played silly and I lost the game because of it. And after that, I definitely learned a lesson that I will never forget. So yeah, I think losing's important. And I mean, I guess the hard thing with a list like this is when you lose is working out whether you lost because you could have played it better or whether you lost because there was just a hard counter to the list and you didn't have the bodies to make up for it.
So that's why I'm sort of thankful Matt beat me in the way he did. It was like a masterclass in somebody screening and having prepared for, the epitome of the Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
Thinking about it for, a couple days after, I learned a lot, and I've been testing various things with a similar amount of models. And I've just learned so much about how to play more conservatively since then.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, okay. Well, that was your 2018 list. That was a list that you went 4-1 with at the West Coast GT, Infinity War, and I believe 4-1. I think I saw LLV in the chat, so he will correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe 4-1 is the best that any Iron Jaws did in the GHB 2018. LLV, I know you're there. I know you are part man, part numbers machine, with a database of information that I will never be able to compare to. But if you do have the answer for that from your podiums and top placings, I would love to know if anyone else did go 5-0 with Iron Jaws. But I do believe that you are equal best that anyone did. So that was your 2018. That's what you did in 2018 with Iron Jaws. Now, I asked you to put together a list for me that would be what you'd do or what you're looking at doing with Iron Jaws in GHB 2019. And you sent me this. Double Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. And I did notice that you named them after I'd already punched it in and brought it all together. So I will need you to share with the class what the names of your two Maw Crushers are.
Well, the main one is just called Dakbag Grot Kicker, and that's because it's his actual name under the Ironsons.
Yep. Grot Kicker, so, good name.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and it's
appropriate.
Nice, simple name.
Nice, simple, and it tells you everything you need to know about his personality. He likes to kick grots. And you know what? Don't we all sometimes look at annoying children and think, God, I could kick you. I just no one would know. Actually, I used to work in schools, and I remember a couple of times being the kids, oi guys, can you move over here? And the kids would be like, nah. I'm like, well, okay, if you don't move, I'm going to kick you. And then your teachers will probably just say that you threw yourselves at my feet. And the kids would be like, yeah, but you wouldn't actually kick us, right? And I'd be like, well, let's find out. So, like kicking grots is a beautiful pastime that we shouldn't ignore. But it's a double Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. We're looking at a couple of War Chanters, still a lot of Gore Grunters, and just some extra Ard Boys in there for flavour. So talk us through the list.
So the idea of this list was to try use the special ability that a Maw Crusher has, which is when you charge, you do mortal wounds, and if there are no models left within 3 inches of you after you've done the mortal wounds, then you trigger on the rampage, which lets you immediately charge again. It's always been something that I was messing with in 2018, and I always had fun. I just never really felt like it had the legs to go anywhere.
Yeah, right. And so now you're feeling like it's kind of got the life?
Yeah, it's so now we've got sort of hulking muscle-bound brute has been redone to give us a bit more on the mortal wounds. We
Yep.
always had the luminary rod, whilst we're still using the ether quartz brooch.
Yeah, oh yeah, we still want
Um,
as many command points as we can. Like
yeah,
we don't want to let any of those get away. We want, if we're getting 1/3 of them back, I think most armies could use that.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting the game with 4 command points, so we're not exactly poor. And
Yeah, no, we're still doing okay.
it's 1 drop as well, which, frankly, with my Infinity War, I missed having 1 drop, because for example, in my game with Matt, I felt that was quite crucial. The fact that he
Yep.
was able to give me first turn. I would have loved to have had second turn. So now I can just force that upon people. And Iron
Yep.
Sun's also changed, so it's now on a 2-up to give -1 to hit for the whole battle round rather than a 4-up.
Yeah, which I think it's massive because it really has become in a lot of ways a game of negative modifiers. So being able to control that is massive.
Yeah, yeah.
And it also, like, if you think about paying points for a formation and an army-wide ability, only getting it on a 4-up is real shit. Real shit. So I like now that it's a bit more reliable. Like, you can trust that you're going to get it and build an army around it, as opposed to paying all these points for it and then being like, well, half the time I don't even get what I paid my points for. You know?
Yeah, it was a real kick in the teeth, which is why pre GHB 19, if you saw a mega battalion, it was almost always Blood.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. That was the one every single person took.
Yeah. Also, Iron Stuns. Since we're using the Metal Ripper's Claw, we're going to gain plus D3 attacks at the start of the game on Rend 3, which is frankly fantastic. Oh, well, LLV's asking me to step in and carry the show whilst Dan fails to notice his audio. So I'm just going to start running down this list. So basically, we're trying to spike the charges, which is fantastic because we can. Um, it's really invested in protecting those crushers. You only go in when you want to go in, which I just can't emphasize enough when you're spending 840 points on this. Other than that, we're still using 3 lots of free gore grunters, which I'm never going to give up. The 9-inch movement is amazing to sort of steal those key objectives. And then LLV was asking my opinion on the new Ard boys. Well, they're 140 points for 20 wounds now. They are frankly a bargain.
All right, I have no idea what just happened, but I think
Welcome
we
back.
can all agree that Alex is a wonderful human being, and a bloke named Alex is just a wonderful reason to be a good person. I am so sorry, chat. Yeah, look, sound. I can see you. Thank you all for having my back there. Yep, and I don't know what happened, but we just had a little moment there. Yes, Dimensional Cascade, you did notice me drinking while I was supposed to be fixing the sound, because nothing is more important than alcohol at any given time. I am very sorry for abandoning you all there, but thank you, Alex, for being a fucking legend.
Oh, well, actually, I didn't realize that the guys could still hear me until LLV said it.
Yeah.
And then I quickly banged on my stream sound just to make sure that I could actually try speak to make up for
Oh, yeah, good. No, we're high tech here. We're high tech. I can't even blame the Australian internet. I quite frankly have no idea what just happened. But you know, like that's the fun. That's the joy. We don't know where we are or what's going on. And I think that we should be in the good place now. I assume if we're looking operational. Nothing's on fire. Nothing's on fire. And that's often the best place to be, except for this conversation, obviously. Oh, excuse me. That was I drank a little bit there. If we could just get a mod to kick LLV temporarily for that thing against Dispossessed in the chat while I couldn't get back. And Demcast, the Canadian internet isn't bad. It's not bad. I just need to basically be better in general, but I'm not, and that's why the Honest Wargamer has a very high quality show, and this is our low quality show. We're the low hanging fruit here, which I'll give you a little secret. There's a might be another show that I'm putting together for the Honest Wargamer in the future, just bringing you some other fun goodies on a different night. So obviously we need to pull our shit together there as well. But yeah, cups are filled. We are drinking. Actually, we didn't even. We were chatting before. Alex, you're drinking, obviously. I take it as a fellow lover of all things strong and spirity.
Yeah. Initially, when we first connected, just before the show started, I was drinking Glenmorangie, and I have to unfortunately
Devastatingly,
admit that
you were saying
lasted
you were
the
low.
intro.
Yeah, yep, we were low on.
And then I've started on the Nicker from the Barrel, which I can't recommend enough. It's a blend, but it is a beautiful blend,
Damn
and
right.
it is cheap as well, which is fun.
Yeah, it'll get you where you need to go without having to pay for an arm and a leg. I'm currently knocking back a couple of Lone Tree ciders. They're gone, and now I'm going to go back to the Granville Island German style Pilsner, which is where I'll be moving to next, because this show does nothing without the power of alcohol in our systems. Now, obviously, Rob is the clean eating, healthy element of the show, and I am your drunken alcoholic uncle who comes and embarrasses himself at the Christmas party. Jimmy 1080, Nicker's Choice, Henry McKenna, Captain Andrew drinking Henry McKenna. There is a spirit that I've been trying to get here in Canada since I moved here. Apparently, if I go 2 regions over, it is in every fucking liquor store everywhere. Here, cannot get a drop of it to save my life. It's a spiced rum out of Australia. called Cargo Cult, and it is just divine. Light, clean, beautiful. I'm so sorry, all those Bundy rum drinkers, but this is the rum that has my heart. And so it's devastating that I can't get it here. Anyway, we're back on board. Road trip. Alcohol road trip. We're back on board. We're talking about Iron Jaws. And this list, I guess, what I would like to ask about this list, going back to before the sound conked out on us, when you look at it, is the major difference between the old one? Because obviously we're still using command points, we're still relying on a WA, but where does it differ? Like the Ard boys there obviously offer something massively different to what you had before.
Well, the R boys fix one of the problems the old list had, in that I can block up the backfield to stop the pesky things teleporting in deep,
dropping down behind you.
It maintains a lot of the offense just in, well, frankly, having two cabbages charging it. And frankly, it uses a lot of the stuff which just doesn't show up on a list. Unfortunately, we're utilizing the GHB 19 changes here as much as we can.
Yeah. And I think the other thing as well that this list has that your previous list didn't have is like you said, that backfield protection from the Ard boys. When I'm talking to dispossessed players, it's very easy for dispossessed players to want to put together an army made out of blocks of 30 and 40 models. And that is good because you get the discount, they're big, they're strong, they've got board presence. But what it means is that if you need to hold an objective, you're not leaving a small, cheap unit on an objective, you're leaving a 300 to 400 point unit just as a gate warden, basically. Whereas this army with 10 Ard boys, you can comfortably park 10 Ard boys on a couple of objectives, and you're like, well, you're 20 wounds with a 4-up save. Your job is just to stand there and look fucking pretty. Like, that's what you do for me. And then die slowly if you can. Or like flip side, you could use them as screens and like wrap stuff out if you know that your opponent wants to alpha strike turn 1. I just think it gives you a little bit more flexibility.
I mean, they are really flexible. I mean, they've got the Iron Fist move as well. So yes, it's a base 4-inch, but it's actually 4-inch plus D6.
Yep.
And just base with all the buffs, they are +3 to the charge. So these boys are making some long bomb charges when you.
Yeah. When you measure it out and you're like, oh damn, they need a 12. You're like, actually, I only need a 9 for them to get in, which is a very big difference when you want to like wrap something up, or if you want to like charge onto an objective and get bodies on. And again, I don't think you can ever go past 10 models with 2 wounds each and a 4-up save. That makes a very hard unit to shift. And they get better their bravery goes up by 2 if they're in combat, don't they? Because of their banner?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're a rough unit. Yeah. You don't want to... They're tough to shift. I can see why a lot of people use them. LLV asked in the chat a little while ago if you have looked at or are considering running big blobs of Ard boys, or whether you'd only ever run them in small.
So, I mean, again, the Gorefist is probably going to give you a lot of answers here. I have considered the filth. We do have another local Iron Jaws player who does have enough Ard boys for me to test the list. I do have a list that is actually running double Ard Fist and 80 Ard boys. And that's so that you can bring back 2 separate blocks of 20.
Fuck.
Just in case you needed that many wounds of Ard boys.
Well, it means that you got a unit that you're going to throw forward first. Devastating news, chat. I am down to my last drink of the show. Which is just awful news given that we're not even an hour in. Alex, every time that I've met you in the flesh, we brought out the worst in each other as far as drinking goes, and it seems like we don't even have to be together to be drinking all of my alcohol, which is fine. As long as you don't get head buddy, we're fine.
Yeah.
That's your superpower.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, well, so I have a theory. Okay, chat. Actually, you know what? This is going to be one of our ridiculous subjects for today. We're taking a tangent. Fucking deal with it if you were enjoying the Iron Jaws chat. I have a theory that everyone has a drunken superpower. Right? Like that one thing that when you're drunk, you do. So for me, right, when I get really, really drunk, I do laundry. and I will wake up to all of my dirty clothes washed and hung on the washing line. And it's kind of like that's me when I'm at my drunkest. Drunkest me does his laundry, and then sober me wakes up and is like, "Oh, thank you, drunk me, for that one thing that you do." Now, the downside is that drunk me doesn't really check the pockets, so I have washed so many phones and wallets that it's not funny. But your drunk thing is headbutting, right? Like, that's it. But not in an aggressive way. Well, maybe sometimes in an aggressive way, but like in a very Iron Jaws like bromance way. Headbutting seems to be it. So to the chat, I want to throw to you: what is your drunk thing? What is the drunk thing that you do? That it's like your drunk superpower. Dad Hammer's amazing at pool when drunk. Terrible when sober. Amazing when drunk. That's all right. Sorry, what were you saying there, Alex?
I was going to say, I didn't mention it in the spell lore, but to keep it Iron Jaws themed, they did just get a spell called Mighty Ed.
Well, you're obviously playing the right army. But yeah, Jimmy 1080 can just jump really high when drunk. That's a useful skill. Your secret skill is jumping really high when you're drunk. That's good. Gorelord, drunk you loves to battle rap, and is apparently fairly decent at a battle rap while drunk. That's all right. Catmandrew finds milk crates and takes them home. Good for all of that milk that you obviously need to store somewhere. Where else will you put it if not in a milk crate? Have you come up against any other interesting ones, Alex, in your time?
Mostly it's just people doing like really crazy things. I'm a snowboarder, and I used to snowboard a lot with this group in England, and they did all sorts of stuff like, drunkenly. We would call it gypsy fights, which is not politically correct at all.
No, definitely not. No, but we're not particularly politically correct in this show at the best of times.
Basically, people would, strip off to just their pants and start fighting. And this is on a ski slope as well. You've got to remember, so it's not the best place.
For those who aren't aware, when an Englishman says pants, he means underwear, not trousers. He means his underwear, because that one caught me by surprise when I was living over there as well. So that's got to be a cold fight for everyone involved, I take it.
Yeah, especially if you're the first one to go to the ground, because you're probably going face first, and that also means you're going nut first.
Yeah, that's also true. LLV becomes the world's best dancer. Now, that would need to be a crowdsourced opinion, because I know a lot of people who think they're wonderful dancers when they're drunk, but that's not necessarily the case. Catmandrew, yep, is a klepto. JV Chaotic is just, I love you, man. And I'll throw that anywhere. Ruining Hopes and Dreams, that's a good one. Gorelord, like that. Groovy, that was a lot of terrain getting generic. As much as there was a command doing this, some of those are still... sorry, Groovy, just double checking. Are you talking about all of the terrain stuff that we got through the GHB and then the FAQs? I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. I have no fucking idea what the terrain shit, what's happening there. I think largely most of the TOs and people I've spoken to have kind of taken the attitude that terrain, that like each event is going to have to come up with their own terrain plans, because practically I think GW hasn't really released anything that we can use reliably in a tournament setting to get it done. Also, I don't have fucking 45 minutes at the start of every game for a little mini game of deploy terrain, roll shit, and then choose like it's... Or, yeah, it's dumb. But yeah... Dad Hammer practices wrestling while drunk, but nearly broke someone's neck. Or a reverse exploder suplex. That's rough. And yes, Alex, in the chat, you're 100% right. That's the one that we accidentally spill a bit of paint on, right? Okay, well, actually, no. I threw my opinions out there. Alex, what was your opinion of the terrain stuff when you saw it?
I mean, before the FAQ, it was frankly hilarious. They've
Yeah.
just released all these nice, pretty boxes, like the Sigmarite dice and that. You're not allowed to use that anymore; it's too big.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when it comes to deploying terrain, it's okay. Nobody's allowed scenery terrain because it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I think the thing for me on that one is we've seen some examples of Games Workshop, and I'm all in support of it. Like, I don't know if anyone was aware when the Space Wolves Codex came out, but they released a day one FAQ slash errata for it. This is over in 40k that changed a bunch of the rules, and they released that like the day before it came out. But I like that because obviously, like, design and stuff is done years in advance for this stuff. If not, I say, assume the short term would be months. So I think that there are circumstances where it's like, okay, yeah, we fucked up, or things have changed, and this is what we want it to be. I don't understand how you do the General's Handbook, which logically I'm assuming can only be in production maybe 18 months to 2 years ahead of time, and you can fuck up terrain that bad. Because surely you are developing the terrain for the releases either in tandem or slightly before the General's Handbook. So how do you then release rules that contradict the stuff that you would have been developing simultaneously at the same time? I don't know. It melts my brain. I just need a moment. The terrain stuff kind of, yeah, it broke me a little bit, only because I just couldn't look at it and not do it. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. But yeah, Tomb King Tristan jumping off. Have a lovely night, mate. Lovely to see you. Yes, LLV phrases it correctly. The terrain phase is definitely it. It's an entire little mini game we get to play. Captain Andrew saying what I think is actually the best thing, that all the tables are preset with terrain before the game and already rolled for terrain. I think that's awesome. I think that's kind of cool. Dadhammer's throwing a wrestling question out there from Facebook the other day. Is Sigmar more like Hulk Hogan, John Cena, or Bruno? To be honest, I actually think Sigmar is more like the Big Show for those who are a little bit older in the wrestling thing, because he's there. He's a big old motherfucking pimp with a lot of bling and a hoe train of Stormcast Eternals, effectively. So Sigmar is the Big Show for me. But yeah, so I take it, Alex, that you also weren't a particularly big fan of the new terrain shit.
I mean, I found it amusing. Even for my home games, I
Yeah.
immediately was like, yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna have my friends come round to play games. They bring their faction terrain. I'm like, according to these rules, I know you paid it, you paid for it, you painted it, you love it, but you're not allowed it.
Yeah. No. Yep. Oh, but my army kind of relies on it. Well, I'm sorry, your army can eat a sack of dicks. I will say that something that I really do like about it, though, I'm so sorry if I keep sticking my head out of the camera. I'm just petrified of losing sound again. One of the things that I do really like about the changes, though, is that terrain can no longer be placed on objectives, which I actually think is really important. I'm disappointed it's only an inch. I wish it was. I actually think that the rule should have been no terrain can be placed within the scoring zone of an objective. That would have been the one for me, because if you think about it, an inch from an objective, a Sylvaneth player can still set up a big fucking copse of trees, effectively right on it and teleport onto it. Whereas if that copse had to be 6 inches from the terrain, I don't know. I think that I don't necessarily think that terrain needed to be deployed further from other terrain, but I wish that it just couldn't be deployed within the scoring zone of objectives. That one would have been my big change. However, obviously there's greater minds than myself at work that play test and design all of this, so I don't know. And we'll probably see over the next year whether it actually changes it. But in the chat, let's just go a yay or nay. What did we think of terrain? Were we like, yay, this is rad? Were we like, we'll go yay, nay, or and where is kind of like, I'm not necessarily for it or against it. It probably won't have any effect on me whatsoever. So we'll go yay, nay, or Alex, are you yay, nay, or
I'd, I'm gonna say I'm a bit of both.
You're a bit of
I'm still
both.
a bit confused.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love someone to explain to me these new Sylvaneth Awakened Woods, which, as per the FAQ, even when you're setting it up as a result of another ability later in the game, you
Hmm.
can't be within 3 inches, but they have to surround a piece of terrain.
Yeah. 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 There's some interesting shit coming up here. Um, I won't lie, I'll be interested to see how they're applied at tournaments. I actually think that the biggest problem that I have is if, and you know what, we have to admit, tournament play is not the only play for Age of Sigmar, but it is the one we're talking about here. And so for tournament play, I think all you've done is lumped TOs with another big question that they're going to need to answer in their tournament packs, which if you want to really strip that back, it means for new players just getting into Age of Sigmar, coming in with no knowledge of the game, they have more that they need to learn. And I don't like anything that adds a higher level of understanding. Catmandrew's suggesting red and blue. Yes, we could do that. Blue for good, red for bad. We can do whatever we like. At the moment, we've got nays, we've got fuck off cunts, which is a very Australian version of nay. Nay for no for matched play. Yeah, just, you know what? I get we're feeling a theme here. And I personally would love to see a little bit more diversity in the effects of terrain on the board, but I think that could have been done by having a really cool, maybe like a D12 for the, or you know, like that kind of thing, like a D12 onto the terrain effects, as opposed to then having a shit ton of other rules as well. But it does sound like most people are planning on ignoring them. And yeah, Dad Hammer making a really good point that it's not even that useful for narrative, because usually when you play narrative, the terrain is set up and ruled according to the narrative. That's actually a really awesome point, because I have heard a number of people being like, oh no, but it's good for narrative. And I was like, really, is it? And I couldn't put my finger on why. There's a reason that Dad Hammer is the master of narrative, and it is because he knows it very well. And you are 100% right. We will say it is very good for open play. So yeah. Felnorn. I probably butchered that. I'm really sorry. I am terrible. As Alex will tell you. Alex, can you actually... So I've been pronouncing it as Vanille Jasas all this time. I think it is finally time for me to know how to properly pronounce your Twitch handle.
I mean, I'm gonna butcher it in my accent, but it should be Vanilla Sass.
Vanilla Sass. Vanilla sauce.
Yeah, it is actually Swedish for vanilla sauce.
Are you kidding me?
It goes back to my handle in games, which is
Yeah, of course, custard, vanilla sauce. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. I can just say Scott. Felnorn 1. I can just say Scott. Groovy. And yeah, I think that's right. Unless the changes work out, you probably ignore him for LVO. I am very excited for the LVO. I've got my ticket booked. I don't know about my accommodation. I don't know how I'm getting there. I don't know what I'm doing when I arrive there. All I know is that I have a ticket to every Age of Sigmar event. I don't know. I just like clicked on a fucking bunch of them. So I don't know what I ended up doing. But I was really excited and really worried that I'd miss out. And I was like, fuck me if I'm moving over here and I'm missing out on the LVO. Also, I'm a big fan of gambling. So obviously, because I play War Dollies. So I'm very excited for the LVO. I don't know how sober I'm going to be, but I'm going to be sober enough to play Dispossessed, which is all I know, and that's all I need to know. Princess Wigglebottom, which is just the best princess name ever, is saying the mystery is solved, which is good. Demcast saying that it much leans towards the pretty table side of things, sets them up for narrative, and then plays match play on them. Captain Andrew saying, what about that Nova Open hype? I would like to get to the Nova Open as well. There's just so many things that I need to try and get to. Anyway, that's a massive sidetrack. We took a huge sidetrack there. Let's go. And we've had a chat about Iron Jaws. Is there any last little things that you'd like to say about Iron Jaws before we move on? Because otherwise, we got one particular Fire Slayers list that we need to talk about.
I'm just gonna say Iron Jaws are the biggest and the best.
They are the biggest and they are the best. And I love that old phrase from, I think it's from 40K, but it's like, orcs are never beaten in battle. If they win, they win. If they die, they die. And if they run away, they can always come back for another go. I'm like, yep, that's you know what? That is good logic. That's good logic, and I reckon it applies to Iron Jaws as well. Um, okay, so we now need to talk about Fire Slayers, because you're not only an Iron Jaws player, you're also quite a talented Fire Slayers player. And we, at the drop of the new book, we played a game where you put together a list that I know that I've heard a few Fire Slayers players, like chatting about, but no one had actually done. And then you not only went and did this list, you bought a heat gun so that you could make sure each model in this list was unique. Now, before I put it on the screen, before anyone knows what we're talking about, do you want to tell us what that list is, or just like in one sentence, what's the list?
It's a gore fist for Fire Slayers.
It's a gore fist for Fire Slayers. And what does a gore fist for Fire Slayers look like?
It's a whole lot of lizard babies. I'm trying to live up to that Warhammer community post which mentioned roving packs of magma.
Yeah, damn right. 5 fucking magma droths. It's a list that with the launch of the book, yeah, Dad Hammer called it in the chat. LOV, it's not Zerkers. Though the bloke you may have heard, Fire Slayers from Australia, Mike, that was on the show about a month back, he's running the 10 Berserker list. And I got a message from him last night being like, it is fucking key. So I'll pull him on in the next couple of weeks to have a chat. Yes, so we're talking about 5 Magma Droths. The Magma Droth, the shit-ass unit that were bugger all previously, now pretty fucking terrifying. And as someone who's been on the receiving end of 5 Magma Droths, I can tell you that this is fucked. So tell us just how fucked it is. Talk to me about it.
I think it's perfectly balanced, personally. If you walk forward towards me turn one, and then I get my turn, then it's a perfectly fair and balanced 4 attempts at D6 mortal wounds on the.
Yes, that was the thing that I noticed was incredible. Was that combo ability from the command ability that was like on a 2-up. 2-up, you get D6 mortal wounds on the charge with the Magma Droths?
Yeah. So the Rune Sun has the ability to put Molten Battering Ram on a Magma Droth, which on a 2-up lets you do D6 mortal wounds when you.
Yep, which is definitely what you want to see happening. I won't lie, when it happened to me, there was mortal wounds coming out of the fucking wazoo with this army. But also, all of a sudden, Magma Droths have gone from being kind of easy to ignore, easy beats, to really righteous. But I would say that they work better as a pack. Because when you ran them, they kind of ended up working as a team of 3 and a team of 2, and they were terrifying. Whereas previously, I've run into lists that were using 2 or 3 of them, and they went down really easy and without too much. So, yeah, would you say that? Would you say that running them as a clump, like as almost like a phalanx, it's like New Age Bretonia just with big dragon lizards, that would be the key to them?
Yeah, my experience so far of this list is I always run them effectively as 2 packs. You've got a Smiter running around with the Rune Father,
Yep.
and you've got a Smiter running around with the 2 Rune Sons.
Yeah, it's basically it keeps them all buffed and hearty and fucking full of rage, which just and actually it takes a lot of work to take them down. I was surprised because played them in previous editions where I was like, oh, they went down a little bit easier than I was anticipating. And when we played, I was like, okay, I like did the maths. I was like, yeah, all right, okay, I reckon I got this. And then they definitely stood up to the damage way better than I was anticipating they would. So yeah, they're fucking hardy, and suddenly they come together real tight. What inspired the list? Like, was it just a bit like the Infinity War, where you were like, I want to do this, I want to make this work?
Well, honestly, when Flesh Eater Courts was coming out, I
Mm.
was one of the ones asking if we could have more than 4 behemoths. That was
Right.
granted, but I didn't really want to play Flesh Eater Courts that much.
Mm.
Then Fire Slayers is coming out, and I was joking in the chat about maybe having more than 4 magma drops.
Right.
And I believe at the time Ben Johnson had put like a little winky face or something, and then suddenly this dropped, and I was sold.
I mean, the disappointing thing is that you can't just have unmounted magmadroths running around and causing mischief. But yeah, fair play. You can have 5 with heroes on the back of them, and that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it's pretty good because at the end of the day, all the heroes add something slightly different.
Mm.
And then on top of that, the magma drops, if it wasn't enough that they're all charging you, they're all breathing fire as well.
They're breathing fucking fire, and then you hurt them, and they bleed on you, and then you get to the end of the combat phase, and they hit you with their fucking tails. They're just a goddamn menace, and I kind of like that they're very they're universal in that the heroes on the back tend to be quite good, and the actual combat attacks are very good at taking out single models. So if they go into a hero, they're useful against the hero. But if they go into a big unit between bleeding, tails, breathing fire, they're also good against multiple model units. So I like it. I reckon they're awesome. I'm glad that we're going to start to see more of them potentially. And yeah, I mean, it was a pleasure to have my ass kicked by this list because I was like, you know what? For so long, you have not seen a Magmadroth in a Fire Slayer's army, or at least the Fire Slayer's armies that were going well. All you saw were Magmadroth. If you saw Magmadroth, they tended to be kind of used as like chaff and scouting. But realistically, the guts of the army came from big blobs of 30 Volkite Berserkers and some Hearthguard Berserkers, whereas now we're seeing just Magmadroths bleeding on everything and killing it. And yeah, it was when we were playing, I was like, my god, their mortal wound output is so incredible. Yeah, they're pretty good. And you just happen to have 5 laying around.
Well, I had 4 laying around. It wasn't difficult to order the 5th when I saw it.
Well, and I guess the good thing is that most people were trying to offload Magmadroths because they were all buying start collecting boxes because it was a cheaper way to get shit. So yeah, not bad. Demcast asking a question of you, Alex, which I'll throw to you. How do you see a list like this holding up in a Slanesh meta? Because obviously this list gives away a lot of depravity points as it dies.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I would have to test it. I feel like against some of the Slanesh list, it's probably going to fall apart,
Yeah.
admittedly. I'm going to rely on my opponent being slightly out of position to let me get the key, assassinating the keepers. If they're bringing the sort of horde style Slanesh
Like
list,
demonettes and stuff like
then
that, yeah.
yeah, then I'm probably just going to think it's Christmas. I mean, I've got 5 Magmadroths breathing fire, charging for mortal wounds, and that I'm just going to cleave through them.
The thing that also caught me off guard about the Magmadroths is how fast they can be across the board as well. So I think, yeah, Demcast, I think that this army, much like Ironjaws, probably gives away a lot to Slanesh in depravity points, in struggling to deal with losing activations if they get pushed to the back. But the flip side, I would say, would be that those Magmadroths are fast, which means that wherever you position your heroes, if you're taking big blocks of 30 demonettes, it's going to be really hard to position your heroes in such a way that it'll stop the Magmadroth charge from getting into that unit without coming into range of the whatever it is, the locust that pushes them back. So yeah, it'd be interesting. It's a list that gives away depravity, but it's a list that also holds and has the speed to kind of counter a lot of that, which I'm kind of interested to see. Any other thoughts on that, Mark, Alex?
I think the big problem fighting Slanesh is if they're going to intelligently hide a hero, back behind something that you can't get to, but behind their entire army, then they are just going to have that classic keeps coming back. The Iron Jaws list, which you just had up before, I was playing against one of our local Slanesh players, and he hit his personal record, which is 154 depravity. That's again fighting multi-wound units, so it can get out of control very fast.
I imagine that a Slanesh player, if they get drawn against, say, Fire Slayers or Stormcast Eternals or Iron Jaws, you're just laughing. Or Bone Splitters as well, because you're like, that is an army where nothing is single wound. Where if I've had a number of players that I've played Slanesh only a couple of times, but every time those players have just been like, fuck. Because outside of my heroes, everything is one wound in my entire army. So they're like, I am getting not a single depravity point out of killing you. I'm like, yeah, son, you get a whole bunch of naked dwarves. So yeah, I think that's the tough thing. But I would say that for when I look at Slanesh, I think that they are dominating because at the moment, a lot of the armies that do well are multi-wound armies. Now, I think when we start to see a bit more spread across there, we'll see them going in against armies that are single wound, and Slanesh might start to struggle there. So we'll see. We've got a lot to see in the future. We're in the brand new world of the GHB 2019, so we've got a lot to check out and a lot to learn, which I am very excited to do. I guess, let me throw you the question that we've been throwing everyone, Alex. So of Iron Jaws first, from the GHB 2019, do you think the Iron Jaws are winners or losers?
They're definitely big winners.
Big winners, yeah.
Especially if Slanesh are going to be taking down a lot of the other armies. Iron Jaws smashing and bashing actually gets you past that fight last. So they are still in for a contender against Slanesh.
True, because even though if somebody's used an ability that makes you fight last, and then you have an ability that allows you to pile in an attack immediately, that's effectively breaking the you go I go combat, which means they can just go straight away. Correct?
Yeah, it specifically says that you can pile in an attack with another unit that is eligible to fight later in the phase. And thanks to our good old feeding frenzy for Gristlegore,
we know that
the end of the phase is also in the...
Yeah, yep. So, yeah, I feel like Iron Jaws have got a bit of a decent shot there, but yeah, if we had to boil it down, you'd say they're big winners. Now, knowing that there are a lot of Iron Jaws players out there, do you reckon... Because at the moment, there's lots of Iron Jaws players, but their stats aren't great. LLV will always point out, and correctly so, that we should not expect a lot from Iron Jaws. Do you think we're going to see more from Iron Jaws now?
I think for the average stats, we're probably going to see Iron Jaws. I think they were at about 40%.
I feel like they 2 out of 5. LLV, please correct us in the chat if you are still around. I believe 2 out of 5 was their average.
I think they're going to be able to, get around the sort of sacred 50% mark now, definitely. I think with sort of a good player behind the list, you're going to be able to see the 4-1, the 5-0. As with a lot of tournaments, sometimes you need a dodge to help you get to that 5-0.
But let's be honest, a 5-game tournament or even a 6-game tournament, you can win off strength of schedule by like your matchups, and it's obviously not ideal, but that's the way it works. Sometimes in sport, you find the 2 top teams knocking each other out at the quarterfinals. LLV in the chat saying that their Iron Jaws previous or current win rate was 37%, and LLV's hot prediction is that we'll expect a 45 to 50% win rate for them, which again, I think Iron Jaws are a bit like Stormcast Eternals in that there are a lot of players for them, which means that their kind of overall stats get spread a lot further. Whereas, say, Daughters of Cain, there are very few people who pick up Daughters of Cain to play them just because they're fun, because they're easy or whatnot. You don't start with Daughters of Cain. Most people go there because they want to be competitive. That's fine, but that's why we see their stats being so good. Demcast commenting in the chat, that he's super excited to play Trogs with all their new points. Oh, yes, because those points drops were lovely. But Slanesh will make you sad. Yes, Slanesh will make a lot of people sad. Okay, so if that's the call on Iron Jaws, Alex, from today, I take it you've had a bit of a peek at the FAQs and everything. What about Fire
Yeah,
Slayers? Do we think Fire Slayers are big winners come GHB 2015, or how are we going with them?
Well, 2019.
2019, sorry. 20, I don't, fuck me, I've gone back in time too far. God, I went back to a brighter time.
Fire Slayers were largely untouched. I mean, as long as you were playing sensibly, the army hasn't really changed.
Yeah, that's
they
fair.
just confirmed what was going on with the prayers. I believe they changed the wording slightly to do that like extra little confirmation about stacking battlesmiths and how that's just
a bit
shouldn't be
like
thing.
a bit like the Soul Seeker, right? Where there are a bunch of people who've been like, "Oh, the Bringy Dingy's been nerfed. No one's going to use it." I was using the shit out of it, and I still am. But I just assumed that I couldn't move after using it. I think it was people taking advantage of a miswording or a small loophole to get that. And if you were disappointed in that change, then you deserve all of the disappointment on you because you really should have seen it coming. Jimmy 1080, 100 points better than Jimmy 980, saying bring back Grom the Paunch. Wasn't his thing strangling though? He was the big fat goblin in a chariot who strangled the dude who was the leader of the goblins prior to him. So, like, yes, but also he's very specific in his way of killing people. Like, you got Stormcast Eternals with armored necks. How's he going to strangle that? I feel like it'd take a lot. And LOV pointing out the thing that Iron Drakes don't need to move after teleport, which is what I'm using them for. But yeah, you reckon they're in there as well?
I do think they'll have gone down a little, and that's not actually due to rules changes. That's due to battle plan changes.
Yeah, right.
We've sort of had changes where, like Scorched Earth now is lengthways, which frankly is just a better experience playing it. But when you're playing those good old stunties, oh boy, you better hope your opponent doesn't rush across the table and pin you turn one, because otherwise you're just not making it to the back.
Yeah, and that's I think for slow armies, planning on either how to fight out of the box or how to move forward is really important. Okay, look, we've covered all of the important facts, and there've been much smarter brains than myself covering the FAQs and the GHB, so we're not going to worry too hard about that because we've talked about the important things today being Fire Slayers and Iron Jaws. But just like every show, we need to finish with something fucking ridiculous. And we've done a few different ridiculous things, but today, what I would like to say, ask, is if your army, and this is to the chat, this is to you, Alex, this is to anybody who would like to answer it. If your army were to be a dance move, what dance move would it be? And this is tough. It's not easy. I mean, I know what I would say for my dispossessed. I'll give you a little moment to just have a think, see if there's anything that you've got. But same to the chat, we'll give you a moment there. If your army was a dance move, what would it be? My dispossessed would 100% be the sprinkler. You know, where you get your old because my Iron Drakes just be giving away that shooting like it's just raining for free. So 100% the sprinkler for my dispossessed. That's how they do it. Demcast in the chat being like the bad moonwalk, 100%. That was too easy. In fact, that one was just fed to you. The bad moonwalk, perfect. Also because Grots are real fans of running away and going backwards is their way to do it, correct? Yep. Awesome. Jimmy 1080, 100 points better than Jimmy 980, saying Night Haunt for the Electric Boogaloo, followed by Thriller. Nice. Yes, I can see that. Alex, do we have something for me?
Yeah, Iron Jaws are going to be crumping.
Yes, 100% yes. Iron Jaws just crumping like absolute fucking legends. Entirely yes. Also because to them, they would probably see it as immaculate, amazing dancing, where in actual fact they're just going batshit fucking insane. So yes, I'm right there with you. Iron Jaws crump the shit out of their performances and are great. What about Fire Slayers? Do you have something for Fire Slayers for me?
Well, I'm not sure what the dance move would be, but it would definitely be Disco Inferno. They're doing it too.
Yeah, actually, yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, just that all of that like go-go dancing, disco inferno. Because let's be honest, they're not wearing much in the way of clothes, so that's clearly
Yeah, it's perfect.
that's their thing, right? They're sweaty. They're at some kind of hairy men's night, and they're just going crazy. And yeah, I can see it. Also, like bright, fluorescent runes glinting in the sweat light of everything while they're dancing to Burn Baby Burn Disco Inferno. LLV saying Fire Slayer's doing that towel move. I'm assuming from like the Full Monty or something. Where LLV, are you talking about the one where the towel goes between the legs and then they kind of like seesaw it with like their beards? Maybe that's disturbing. Mr. Mephisto, wonderful to have you back in the chat, mate. Good to see you again. Pointing out that we are asking the hard questions on this show. Rob asks the very important tactical questions, but we deal with the important shit on your Monday evenings. Flossing. Demcast pointing out flossing. Princess Wigglebottom saying hairy men's night. It sounds like a typical convention. And I don't know how to respond to that because I fucking love it. Yes, LLV saying Fire Slayers floss. Fire Slayers 100% floss. And I'd like to see them holding their beards while they did it.
I think that's the towel, isn't it?
Yeah, or whatever the fuck. I'm not coordinated enough for it. I'm not good at it. My Cogfort army is 100% all doing the robot. Like, that would be their shtick. They're into that. Dadhammer pointed out Scourge Privateers doing every day I'm pirating as opposed to every day I'm shuffling. And because they're elves, I can see them shuffling crazy as well. That'd be kind of cool. Just on the boat, like the boat pulls up alongside you about to raid your shit and they just won't stop shuffling. And you'd be like, can you just stay still and fight us? And they're like, no, bro, get down. Tham10 saying Slanesh just does Party Boy from Jackass, where they take off all their clothes and dance at you. Not with you, not on you, but at you. Like, they aggressively dance at you, which I can feel. Alex, I think you're going to love this one. So have you seen that video of the kind of rave under the bridge that's been remixed to the Thomas the Tank Engine soundtrack? Because Jimmy 1080 in the chat has said Namadi Thrall's doing that rave to the Thomas the Tank Engine soundtrack. Tainted Love by Marilyn Manson for Slanesh would be amazing. Yes, you are 100% correct there, Alex. Yes. Death Leads to Nagash doing Thriller, which, can you imagine Nagash just floating up there doing that? That would be spectacular. Blitz saying Seraphon would do Walk the Dinosaur. Yes. And Beasts of Chaos, they don't dance, they just mosh. But, well, and to them, that is dancing. That's special. That's magical. They're just moshing like crazy. And LLV, you know what? We'll round it out with this one from LLV because that's what it is. Not sure of the dance, but the song is always "When I Think About You, I Touch Myself" for Slanesh. And yes, Dadhammer Wanderers would be do like ribbon dancing through a forest. Caleb NX Nilo has subscribed for 8 months. We are only 1 month away from our hobby baby, which is always a special journey when a new hobby baby is brought into the world. I'm obviously carrying it. And Dadhammer, Tomb Kings would be walk like an Egyptian, and I assume doing that thing. But we do need to wrap it up. It is time to say goodbye. It's been lovely to have you. I'm very sorry about that little sound hiccup we had in the middle there. A bloke named Alex, which is all the credentials you need to be amazing at both Ironjaws and Fire Slayers. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
That's great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and thanks for basically carrying my ass when all of the sound died on my end of things. Nightscribe been subscribed for 4 months, which means we're only 5 months away from our hobby baby, but has come back. Free People's doing the safety dance. I would say Free People's dance would be anything by like YMCA and that kind of thing. Dadhammer late admission, but the privateers in the Navy. Okay, look, we can't keep doing this because we do have to say goodbye. It's time to wrap it up. But Alex, we always end on if there are any shameless plugs. Do you have any shameless plugs that you'd like to throw? Any events you're going to, things you're doing, stuff you want to talk about that you'd be like, come and do this?
I'd say if you're in the area, it's worth making it up to Attack X. It's
Hmm.
always a laugh. If not, then maybe Kippers if you prefer a bit of drinking. I do know there is a drinking trophy.
I have heard that
Last time I was
Kippers Melee, which is held on Vancouver Island, is a very alcoholic event and has a very strong destruction meta as well.
Yeah, last time I was there, one of the locals from North Farm walked up to me on the second day,
Mm.
having won the drinking trophy, carrying a wizard staff taller than me. I think
For those who don't know, a
looking at
wizard
this,
staff is
but I'm
empty
not
big
exactly
hands.
sure.
Yeah, that's a big one. Um, fuck. So look, those would be the ones to find you at, and obviously if anyone's around Vancouver, drop you a line because you'd love to throw magma droths at them at this point in time, or cabbages. You're big on magma
Uh,
droth. You like big shit, right?
I just like the epic cavalry charge.
Mm.
I am going to admit, and I'm also going to plug in. The Magma Droths are really only playing home games in my house at the
Yeah.
moment because they're not on their bases. Because I keep watching Vince Venturella's videos,
Yeah.
the hobby cheating ones,
Mm-hmm.
and as much as I love him, I hate him. I keep restarting my goddamn models.
That's the worst. The worst thing about this is the whole hobby in general is how easy it is to be inspired by someone else and go, I'm not okay with that. I need to update my shit. So yes, that is a very fair thing where you're getting caught out on that one because I do it all the time. I'm like, yeah, I love this. And then I see something, I'm like, I could do a whole army of that. That would be amazing. And before I know it, I've ditched all of my plans and I've completely hobby butterflied in the other direction. So no, there's no shame there whatsoever. Um, but yeah, so thank you very much, Alex, for joining me this evening. I mean, there's events coming up, which I'm sure that we will probably want to talk Iron Jaws about after, if we see whether the Infinity War can be topped with its 4-1 placing. So, what would you say? Okay, if you had to call it, because I love a big old arrogant call, your next event, what do you reckon you go with this new Iron Jaws list?
If I take the Iron Jaws, I'm gonna say I'm gonna manage a 4-1 again.
Okay, well,
Seem to be quite happy doing that.
after your next event, we're going to catch up again because and chat, you have been witness to this. He's saying the next event 4-1 with Iron Jaws, 4-1, and we're going to talk. We're going to see how it went. Oh yeah, so go.
I was gonna say unless I decide to crack out the triple cabin.
The three horsemen of the Apocalypse or something like that. I don't know. There'd be something there. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me, Alex. It's been wonderful having you. Thank you, chat, for coming and saying hello as well. It's been a lovely evening. But yeah, it's been wonderful to have you, and we'll see you all in a week, I guess. And happy GHB 2019, the year of our 2019 Lord. It's been a wonderful time. But yeah, cheers. See you, Alex. Thanks for having me. Well, thank you for coming on this lovely little Iron Jaws hobby journey with me.
Yeah, see you. Thanks.
All right, take care. See you later, everyone, and we'll catch you next week.